In the world of Berserk, the sky turns black, marking a boundary-pushing shift in manga history. The Eclipse remains a watershed slaughter that redefined the storytelling limits of the medium. The event's cultural footprint is massive. Its desolate tone and crushing lore served as a primary blueprint for modern gaming icons like Dark Souls and Elden Ring. While the demonic monsters and extreme gore define the surface, the actual devastation is anchored by an intimate, interpersonal betrayal at the center of the carnage. The horror of the Eclipse is psychological. It is a tragedy fueled by a lethal paradox between absolute ambition and the cost of human vulnerability. To understand the betrayal, we have to look at the scale of Griffith's world. He is a charismatic, brilliant tactician driven by an obsessive ambition to rule a kingdom as pristine as his own image. This dream requires a utilitarian worldview. To Griffith, other people are instruments, tools to be owned, directed, and eventually spent to secure his destiny. Guts was the only variable Griffith couldn't categorize. He was the sole presence capable of making Griffith put down his guard and temporarily forget his lifelong goal. This dynamic triggered a narcissistic paradox. A mind obsessed with absolute superiority requires a rigid hierarchy to feel safe. Experiencing equal affection threatens a narcissist, who can only exist at the top. As Guts gains independence and stands on equal ground, Griffith's curated reality shatters. The variable he couldn't control breaks the machine. Griffith's perceived perfection was a brittle facade. It left him completely defenseless against the one thing his logic couldn't account for: the weight of genuine love. The collapse begins when Guts formally abandons the Band of the Hawk to seek his own path. This departure instantly destroys Griffith's illusion of mastery. For the first time, a tool has defied the owner. Griffith spirals into a desperate, self-destructive attempt to reassert his control over the world. He impulsively sleeps with the Princess of Midland, trying to reclaim his role as a mover of fates. The consequence is a year of absolute powerlessness. He is captured, imprisoned, and subjected to a year of systematic physical torture. The true devastation of the dungeon was the total annihilation of Griffith's identity. He was no longer a master, he was a broken object. Upon his rescue, Griffith faces a physical reality he cannot survive. He is a mute, crippled husk, unable to hold a sword or pursue a kingdom. He is forced into a new, agonizing dynamic. He is now entirely dependent on and pitied by the very people he once commanded. The breaking point happens in the back of a wagon. Guts rushes forward and places his hands on Griffith to offer comfort. In this exact moment, Griffith makes a cold calculation. His love for Guts was the specific point of failure that left him vulnerable to destruction. Griffith projects his self-hatred outward to avoid his own fragility. He places the total blame for his ruined life on Guts' shoulders. Griffith could survive the loss of his body and his dream, but he could not survive the unbearable humiliation of receiving pity from the man who broke his heart. The supernatural Behelit activates, and the God Hand presents the ultimatum: sacrifice the Band of the Hawk to attain demonic rebirth. Griffith's choice reveals a dark psychological drive. He is specifically weaponizing Guts' body, selling him to demons as a calculated punishment for making him human. Kentaro Miura maps this internal greed onto the landscape, using the romantic sublime. Influenced by 19th century artists like Gustave Doré, Miura uses overwhelming vastness and terror to reflect the infinite, corrupted scale of Griffith's ego. The ritual serves as a purging of Griffith's own humanity. By sacrificing his friends, he murders the lingering affection that derailed his life. This was Griffith's ultimate, violent reclamation of the master role. He achieved absolute authority by annihilating the very source of his human weakness. Reborn as the demon Femto, his immediate, horrific assault on Casca acts as the final mechanism to sever his bond with Guts forever. Berserk stands as a grim warning about the catastrophic collateral damage caused by a pathological ego that refuses to be tamed. The Eclipse remains unforgettable because it forces us to confront a terrifying extreme: a man who chose the absolute isolation of power because he was too afraid to be loved.